Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Now in today's video, I'm going to be going over some great opportunities in DeFi right now for you to potentially earn some yield with yield farming. Okay, now before we get into it, I am not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. Always do your own research and be very careful about what you're investing in DeFi and crypto because it is the riskiest stuff in the world. And with that said, smash the like button, subscribe down below if you want to, turn the notifications on so you don't miss a future video, and check out the links in the description to Twitter, Discord, all that good stuff. Now, apologies, it is almost 2 a.m., so if my voice sounds a bit like tired or whatever, it's because it's almost 2 a.m., but I had to get this video out because this week's been an interesting week in crypto. If we take a look at CoinGecko, you can see Bitcoin's taken a bit of a hit today, 7%, a little correction down to 63K after rallying to almost 69,000 earlier on today. 68.9K about 3 p.m. today, UK time that is. So yeah, just kind of crazy stuff. But look, in DeFi right now, there's a lot of potential with yield farming. Okay, and the reason I had you on DeFi Llama is because here you can see the volume. You can see the volume, and this is a good metric to look at. If we take a look over the last sort of couple of months in DeFi, we'll do the TVL as well. We'll have both of these at the same time, just so you can kind of gauge how kind of silly this is, or not silly, but how you can see how the market's picking up, right? So this is let's do since December last year. So December, there was $4.49 billion of volume on December 7th with 52.895 billion TVL. Now, if we take that to today, there has been a TVL on volume yesterday. This is, well, on the 5th, it's now 2 a.m. on the 6th, but yesterday there was $13.945 billion in volume with $93.58 billion of TVL in DeFi, which if we take a look from December, that's massively different. That is, about 3 or 4 times the volume there was a few months ago, which means great opportunities for us. Now, the reason this is good for us today is you want to see big days like this where, if you're farming in DeFi, you want to see people swapping tokens a lot. That's where we make the money. So, if there's massive spikes or massive dips in the market, depending on how you've positioned yourself, this is a good thing. Because yes, your TVL and your underlying assets may be down slightly in the actual pool of what you've deposited, depending on where you've bought at and your technical analysis and all that good stuff, and some may be out of range. But if they're in range and you've done technical analysis and you've bought it at a good time, these are the days where you're going to make amazing fees. So I'm going to show you a couple of things here. This is Aperture. These are my pools that I'm currently running. Now, since yesterday, I believe my ARB to USDC pool has made like $100 in 24 hours. Since yesterday I checked, which is kind of crazy at $207 overall, which is a bit ridiculous considering I have 7K in there. Usually this does around 100 a week to 200 a week, and that's done that in a day. This Optimism and USDC pool, I did rebalance this today, which I think was a good decision because it would be out of range by now. So I did claim about $70 worth of fees from Friday, which was a few days ago now. But that's made $30 in just a few hours since I rebalanced that. So you can see, and we got $35 here, 30 here, 19 here, 60 here almost, and 24 here to claim. Like, that's crazy. And this is just from Uniswap, by the way. Now, if you haven't already, definitely take a look at my last video on how to find pools. There's also another tool that I found called Crystal. Crystal is just a way that you can find different pools, and it's not entirely accurate, but it is fairly accurate in terms of the APYs. So if you go to the Explorer and you go down to the chain that you're on, let's say you want to farm on Arbitrum, and you want to just find pools on Uniswap, then you can do that, and you can filter by TVO, you can filter by APR, etc. So if you filter by APR, I mean, yes, this only has 45K liquidity. Would I jump into this with only 45K liquidity? Probably not. You can see this does refresh every few seconds. I think it refreshes every minute automatically, but there's 2,000 APY on this right now. If you go from the top TVL down, then you can kind of see. But let's say you want a couple 100% a year, then go to like page 3 or 4 or something like that, and you'll be able to find some good tokens like this one here, Arbon Link. Okay, maybe not because that only has 64K TVL, but Arbon USDC, which is a pool I'm in, you can see is doing 241% a year right now. ARB to USDC, another pool here, GMX to USDC doing 197%. Yes, it only has 15k TVL, so you want to be careful of that. You can filter by TVL as well. Of course, the more TVL they have, the APY is typically going to be less. Like you've got this one here doing 255% because of the incentive there is pretty high. But just the fees on their own is pretty good. Rapti to GMX doing 255% a year right now, which is pretty crazy. So Crystal is definitely a tool to take a look at. You can see best APR pairs here, best blue chip pools. I don't know why Pepe is in there on a blue chip. That's pretty crazy. And you got stablecoin pools as well doing pretty high yields. So let's say you want to farm on all platforms as well. You can find that. You can find them on pretty much any chain as well, and it will load up with those stats, right? So this is one way. Another way to find some pools. Okay. Another thing to take a look at is where to find decent opportunities right now, and that's just being active on Twitter, on YouTube, finding people's videos, finding what other people are doing, but also do your own research. Doing your own research and doing your own technical analysis into the underlying token is definitely very important, because you could just see a pool that I'm in or someone else is in and ape in, but you have to do your own research to make sure you know what the token is, to make sure you know what you're getting into, etc. So let me show you one of the other platforms that I've been exploring and putting money into recently. And one of them is over on Turbo's Finance, where you can get 55% per year on stablecoins right now, USDT and USDC. Now, this is on the Sui network, so you do have to install a new wallet on your browser, which is kind of annoying, but that is what it is. That's the life of a DeFi person, right? Or a guy trying to farm some yields. You can have different wallets. You probably have Phantom installed, MetaMask. It's just another one of those, right? So make sure you write down your seed phrase. But you can get 55% a year on stablecoins right now over on here, which is pretty crazy. And it does have a decent liquidity, as over $12 million of liquidity, which is pretty cool. You got Turbos and Sui, which Turbos is the native DEX token, and then Sui is obviously the native chain token, but you can get 350% APR on that right now. Sui and USDC, of course, Sui is the token for the chain, and then you have USDC. You can get 629% APR on that right now, which is pretty crazy. Turbos and USDC, obviously we've gone over what Turbos is, but they don't have too much liquidity, so I probably wouldn't jump into this personally. But yeah, and it's just some pretty cool yields, especially with this 55% APR that you can get on stablecoins right now, is pretty insane. Another one is Extra Finance. And again, I just found these from being active on Twitter mainly, but you can actually get, now there isn't any USDC to borrow right now on here, but essentially this is a leveraged yield farming protocol. Now, if you haven't experienced what yield farm leverage is, especially with yield farming, I probably wouldn't jump into this because it is kind of risky if you don't know what you're doing with leverage. But just on stable coins, you can get 0.37%, 0.33% a day on stables, which in DeFi, on stable coins with no leverage. Now, there isn't any USDC to borrow on these stablecoin pools right now, so you can't use leverage on these stable pools. But if you go over to if you're just looking at all pools, then you can do up to 4x leverage on most of these. You do need this VE extra token to be able to get the 4x leverage. But let's say if you're even doing no leverage, right? Again, if you don't know much about leverage, especially with yield farming, definitely take a look at the docs, because it does go over quite a bit. But you can get 0.79% per day right now on USDC and Aerodrome token. Now, do some research on Aerodrome. It has been pumping a lot recently. I've been in Aero since it did first come out, so that's been a nice little pump there. But yeah, I mean, even if you want to do like 2% leverage or whatever you want to do, you can play around with the numbers. It's just kind of cool looking at this. I mean, you can get 1.56% a day on 2x leverage, which is pretty cool as well. They are on Optimism too, and you can kind of see the different pools there. Now, you can also go ahead and lend some assets out for a decent return. So you can go ahead and lend USDC right now for 68% a year APY for people to then borrow that. And then, leverage. If you don't want to leverage yield farm, you don't want to take on that risk of getting the leverage, you can supply the leverage that people are taking and make 68% a year on stable just by lending it right now, which again is pretty cool. Another one like this for leveraged is called Single Finance. They're not too big. There isn't too much liquidity in here. But again, it's kind of leverage, and you can use, there's a bunch of different assets on here. I would probably definitely take a look at the TVL of some of these pools, because the TVL isn't massive on a lot of these. But yeah, I mean, you can make a decent amount with leverage right now. Or with yield farming in general, you can make a ton of money at the moment. There's a ton of opportunities. I mean, even over on Trader Joe, if you go into the pools, you can see 900% APR, the auto pools, so they auto compound for you. There's a bunch of opportunities for yield right now in DeFi, which is pretty cool. And that's all thanks to the volume. So, and they're on a bunch of chains as well. But the volume is the main thing you got to look at, because the more volume there is every day, if you're yield farming on certain pairs, especially hot pairs, like if you're on blue chip tokens on good chains, like if you're on a Bitcoin and Ethereum pool, Ethereum, WBTC, native chain tokens that people use a lot, like Optimism, Arbitrum. If you're holding and farming those assets on days like this, where it's more of a longer term sort of hold and a longer term yield, yeah, you may not generate as much. You may need like 15 to 20% a month, which I know sounds like not much when we're considering back in the degen days. But for now, whilst we're in this sort of high volume market, depending on, it doesn't matter if the market's going up or down. If the volume's high, then you're going to generate fees, which is pretty cool. Again, no financial advice, but just something I've been playing around with over the last year or so is yield farming. So definitely take a look at it. It's pretty interesting what's going on right now. There's a lot of opportunities, and a lot more DEX is coming out with more clever ways to earn. So guys, that's really going to be it for the video. One more thing I want to touch on is on Aperture. You can now zap in. So you can create a new position. And let's say you want to do, I don't know, USDC and Ethereum, right? You can, let's put in the max amount here that we have. You can now, they have this zap in feature, right? So instead, you'd have to set your price, okay? And have to do this all manually. You'd have to do all this manually, but pick your price range, which again is just random, whatever. And then you want to open position, and you can basically zap this in. So let's say you have this amount let's say you have $26, right? And you want to click that, then you can open the position, okay? And it will buy the individual asset. So before you had to have both of these, right? Both of those tokens, and then buy each amount. So it was balanced in the pool and whatnot. But now you can actually zap in directly with Uniswap, which is pretty cool. So definitely check that out if you want an easier way to jump in a pool on Uniswap. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it for the video. Lots of opportunities right now in DeFi. Crazy volume. I mean, even from like yesterday, it was almost double. So yeah, crazy stuff going on right now. Let me know what you think of yield farming. Are you involved? Let me know down below. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.